On this episode of ResiWeek, insurance will set the rules for AV, Sonos patents your brain, and Lutron Overseer has a RAW 2 Select connection. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 113, Fake News.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Chief, the global leader in commercial AV mounting solutions, and by Harman International.
Welcome to ResiWeek. This is your weekly wrap-up of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv. And today I'm pleased to be joined by Bruno Napoli. He is on a strategic retreat in London at the moment. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me once again.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's always great when we're here, or when you're here. Next, we have Michael Braithwaite. He is the CTO of Screen Innovations, and I totally kind of butchered your last name, but how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for inviting me.
I always have trouble with the change between Canadian, French Canadian, and American. I get things wrong. And the person who can attest to that is my good friend Joe Whitaker. He is the president at the Thoughtful Home. How are you, sir?
Doing well, except for snow on Easter. But other than that, glad to be here.
What's adorable is you guys have snow down south, and we don't in Canada. Nothing.
It makes no sense.
It's the end of the world as we know it. All right, gentlemen, let's kick this off with a story that our good friend Bruno wrote and has been, dare I say, championing this cause for a while. This is on Medium. It is insurance companies will start to set the rule in AV and home automation. To get kind of straight down to the point, and then I'm going to turn it directly over to Bruno. He's paralleling the differences between the way you would feel about being on a bus or a plane or anything like that when you're not a specialist in that area, i.e., if you're on a plane and it hasn't had general maintenance, that's a problem. You're not going to enjoy being on that plane. Yet, in the world of home automation, we don't have that certification level, that annual maintenance system really in place. There are dealers dabbling in it, but it's not there yet. And what Bruno's getting at is, in the future, when we start looking at insurance on your home and in your businesses and things like that, it's going to come a point where having your local home automation pro may or may not be sufficient to having that system installed and then insured. Bruno, you've been, and heck, you and I have been talking about this for at least a year now. Why is this such a big push for you? Why has this become the cause that you've been championing?
Okay. First of all, we have really to understand that Amazon, Google, Apple, Microsoft, Samsung, we have to think about those companies as the operating system of the house. Okay. Mm-hmm. Those are going to be the operating system of the house. It's not going to be anyone else. It's going to be Amazon, Google, and Apple. That's one point. The same as they've been able to put into every single human being pocket at least one mobile phone. Okay, today everyone has a mobile phone in the pocket. They succeed doing this. They're going to make every single house with home automation with it. It's inevitable. They want it, and they are going to be able to do it with simple product, affordable product, and ultra super extraordinaire, nice fancy feature that everyone will want. Okay. Now, when Apple, Amazon, Google put a mobile phone into every pocket, they also destroyed the high-end luxury mobile phone market. Does not exist anymore. If the high-end luxury market for a mobile phone is an Apple 10, it's the Apple 10 mobile phone. This is the iPhone 10. So when all house will be connected, Okay, they want to connect all house for two things. First, they want to control your data, and two, they want to sell to every homeowner a little monthly service, because they know that what makes the value of a company is the recurring revenue that you can get from people. And by the way, I'd like to give a little message to every custom installer who can hear us. Guys, the value of your company is only the recurring revenue that you have. Okay, even if your company is making $1 million per year, your company worth zero if you don't have any recurring revenue. Okay, and someone who would like to pay to buy your company will be stupid to pay for more than the price of the truck and the toolbox. Okay, so let me come back to this to this insurance. They want insurance company. They are afraid of three things: fire, flood, and burglary. Okay, the thing is, excuse me, insurance company will also know that they are champion not to reimburse you, because it's their business. You pay every month for a coverage, and when something happens, they will show you that between the line, you see between those two lines, it says that we will not reimburse you because of this. Okay, so to cover you for disaster, fire or flood, they want your house to be installed by a real professional. Okay, and to cover you in for burglary, they want your house to be closed, meaning that someone have to break to go into your house. Now the big question is, the big question is for me is, once all our house will be totally connected, and that you will be able to open the gate, the front door, the garage door, the shades, everything with your mobile phone, will it change something in the insurance coverage? Will they ask you to have a certain type of professional to install it? Will they ask you to have a specific device, a specific maintenance contract to maintain it up to date? That's the whole question.
Very good. Joe, I wanted to ask you this. We know that this threat is real, right? Of insurance companies starting to look at this and starting to realize that they want certain people to have installed this, not just any Joe off the street, and definitely not a homeowner, right? If a homeowner installs a, one of the mass market alarm systems, doesn't have it monitored, what good is it really? But my question is, how is the integrator going to cope with this down the road? How are they going to figure out where they can and cannot touch something?
I think this whole situation is a little bit of a jump ahead of the train. When we've seen things like this happen in other industries, security, electrical, things like that associated with insurance, before there could be enforcing or any kind of national or global recognition behind it, there has to be, government recognized regulations and standards. An insurance company is, even large ones, are not typical to jump on you must do X, Y, and Z without having some type of proper regulations or standards in place prior to enforcement. This is the same in automobile. This is a standardized thing within inside of insurance. So it leads me to, Matt, you've now been accustomed to some of these discussions within CEDIA. Now being on the board is where does it start? Where do these regulations and standards start? How do they get pushed to, national, local, and municipal governing bodies so that they can be used by accreditation, insurance, et cetera? I think this is a little ahead of time. We know it's coming, but where's insurance going to judge this on? Because when you talk about technology, you have more than one thing. You have privacy loss, data loss, security loss, intrusion loss. How are you going to classify those within product categories, within the integration space, on custom installers, because not all custom installers install firewalls to prevent data loss or privacy. Not all of them install security system or door locks, which leads you to security and intrusion. And that list kind of goes on and on. That insurance cannot pressure this on until there is a standardized regulation or a government standardized. It's a little early to me. Am I personally prepping for it within our company? Absolutely right, I am. Because I see what these losses can be. I see the value in them. And right now within insurance for professional company, we only have really 3 levels of insurance for this. We have our standard, contractor insurance, which I hope most of the people listening out there are carrying a minimum of $1 million on that. But you also have professional insurance, which, insures that one guy who may have came in on a bad day or, not enough sleep. It makes a professional mistake that actually affects, that residence or business. These are things we deal with now. But I would love the opportunity for, several people within CEDIA to sit down with an insurance governing body that that governs all of these, insurance guys, and come together and say, okay, here's a platform, here's an assumed standard, here's a direction it should go. We need to deal with this now, because what's the best way for government adoption is mass adoption within a private sector.
Yeah.
So, there are a lot of things to look at. I still think it's a little early, but believe me, if the opportunity came up, I am 100% in to start addressing this immediately.
Very good. Mike, Joe kind of alluded to this. The one question I had out of this was, who is going to be that professional body that's going to govern this? Is that going to be CEDIA? Is that going to be, in Canada, it's CNESA? I don't know, and I couldn't find the one security governing body that does it in the US. And I'm sure in Europe and Britain and, other parts of the world, there are other governing bodies that do that. When, I was just at an event that was a very heavy CNESA event. And as an integrator, I was the guy who didn't belong. It wasn't our channel. It wasn't our thing, but it was heavy on those security professionals. They don't know the first thing about home automation. Just like a lot of, home technology integrators, we don't necessarily know the first thing about alarms and stuff like that. They're just a lot of times separate verticals. Who's going to own this side of it?
I think it's an appropriate and it's a fair question. And the problem I have is our industry representatives, so the CEDIA of the world, right? CEDIA, or if you want to look at AVEXA too, if you look at those industry groups, those are supposed to be the ones that have our back and are working on this. However, and this with all due respect, because there are folks in those organizations that are working on this. However, my skepticism comes in is that the insurance lobbyists and the insurance companies will they're going to go to the lowest hanging fruit. They don't even know who CEDIA is. Okay, mm-hmm. So the just as you mentioned, the security industries, which they do have more lobbying than what our industry is doing, and the electrical contractors. So if you look at electrical contractors, or someone's coming in to do a high voltage system within a home, they're licensed. And the licensing is, state and government licensed. They're bonded, and they go through it. So the thing is, my suspicion is the insurance companies will unfortunately team up with the high voltage contractors, the electrical contractors, or the security. And I think we're starting to see, that movement in there, and that doesn't bode well for, to be honest, the CEDIA of the world, because if they say, "Oh, we have this covered, we have this covered, we have all the electrical contractors, and as long as you're a licensed electrician, great, no problems."
Yeah, very good point, gentlemen. We will obviously continue to watch this story, and I'm sure, Bruno, you'll be all over it.
I have a part 2 of this blog.
Excellent. Can't wait to read it.
We'll talk later.
All right. Sounds good, my friend. All right. Coming to us, our next story is from CE Pro. Sonos has a very interesting patent application. They want to play music based on biometrics like sweat. Joe, I'm going to start this one with you because I know you just love Sonos and you would love to comment on this.
So much.
I read through this article and we've seen this kind of concept before. Not necessarily directly in our channel, but we've seen this as a concept that there will be biometric readers that allow different things to happen. If you're feeling down, it can turn on soothing music or mist some form of vanilla scent or lavender scent into your home, which I'd be all over that one. I love a little bit of lavender. Oh, it's a good day. But Joe, when you read this, how much of this is science fiction? How much of this is just ridiculous? We're going to patent something that probably won't ever happen in anyone's lifetime, but we're going to do it.
It's funny. I actually think after reading it and then looking at it a little bit, I actually think this is semi-legitimate. And funny thing is that not too long ago, I filed for something similar but different because I kind of see a potential trend. You have to think about it. In hospitality, this is already a thing that people do. So, bear with me for a second when I tell you about this. When you go into a bar or a restaurant and they have background music, ambient music, DJs, etc., they do kind of a internal, in their mind, kind of room assessment based on how BPMs can either bring a crowd's attention span and feelings up, how they can turn tables faster within a restaurant based on the BPMs, how to keep it at a certain level so that you're not chasing people off, but you're getting them to spend more money. This is actually a pretty legitimate thing because you could think of somebody going start to hop on a treadmill and start exercising, and Sonos sees your heart rate per minute jump. They can increase the music to match your exercise. You're at a resting heart rate. They know you're trying to relax, with a glass of scotch and a cigar, and all of a sudden they cut on that kind of music. This is legitimate, but the power in this patent isn't what they're proposing now. It's what they can do after the fact. Once they can start doing real biometric measurements based on facial expression, slumping, all these other things that we know there's scientific analytics behind already. But this lets them the great thing about a patent is it's a timestamp. That's what it is. It's a timestamp of we've got this idea, we're going to expand upon it, and you can expect us to do 3 or 4 patent revisions within the next 3 years. That's what this is about. This is, at first I thought it was a joke. No, it's going to actually be something real.
Very good. So not a joke. Mike, when you look at this, obviously there's a lot of factors that will play into the rollout of this down the road. But how quickly could we start to see some of this happen?
I think you're actually already starting to see some of this happen with when you look at some of the preferences that are built into just the skills from Alexa, for example. So once they understand, if you read some of the claims from this patent application, they're talking about, the biometrics. So in your voice, they can, you can pick up whether you're stressed or whether you're, or whether you're sad or whether, and so just some of the skills on the Alexa of understanding, the way that particular request came in, they're starting to do that. If in a workflow, if you're working on something, you're concentrating on that, and as they start to pick up more of this, and again, Joe's exactly right, because we're in a first to file patent system now, and so them putting that flag into the ground is going to allow some of these algorithms that will pick up on certain things and either adjust. his mention about the BPM in turntables, that's really good. But think about even you're exercising or you're doing something, and it adjusting that as well. So it's here, it's happening now.
Bruno, when you read these kind of things, and again, we know you are all about security and insurance and making sure that integrators are covered and the homeowner is covered, and realizing that. Does this concern you as, I don't want to say an invasion of privacy, because it's not really that.
It freaks me up. It freaks me up because you don't know. In the end, you don't know who controls who.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my Sonos will start to play stuff to control me. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know who's going to control who. As Mike just said, we already have this because Google and YouTube are already analyzing our request, and they will propose us some content. So this is not new. And the problem is, who is controlling who? For what purpose? So technically, I recognize that technically it's wonderful. I love it. I'm a geek. I love technology. This is wonderful. But it freaks me out a little. But I'm sure that, for example, in certain applications, maybe in hospital, with old people, with people that have disabilities and stuff, I think it's very good. But for general usage, I don't know.
Perfect. I think you summed up everyone's personal opinions on this in one statement. Freaks me out.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, we are going to cover one last story. This came out today, and we had a discussion whether we wanted to include it because it is brand fresh and new, and I wanted to, so we're doing it. And it's my show, so that's what happens. This comes to us from CE Pro. Lutron and Snap AV are going to team up to help dealers sell more lighting control. Snap AV has named Lutron as its exclusive lighting control provider, and they're going to build a specific RAW2 Select hub that will have native overseer built inside of it. Now, what's fun and interesting about this is that the Select 2 hub will only be available from Snap AV. It's going to have its own baked version into it, i.e. you can't just go to whoever normally sells you your Lutron and get an overseer version of Select. Now, this is a big thing. It's a big deal. It's two very large players in our industry, and most importantly, I don't want to say it's two different ends of the spectrum, but it's kind of two ends of the spectrum. You have Lutron, who has been in the industry for years and has been a very high level product. Then you have Snap AV, who has been a very influential and creative company, but sometimes they're not necessarily attributed, shall we say, on the same level. Mike, I want to start with you on this, and stop laughing. You're beating me to the joke. When you look at this, to me, this is very intriguing. Get past all of the weird partnership side of it. Get past the fact that it's only going to be available at a Snap location, but look at the flexibility that Overseer can add to some of the things that Lutron is already doing. To me, that's the big part of this story. When you read this, what does this say to you?
Well, it says a few things, I believe. I believe that it shows a sea change when it comes to a company like Lutron. A company like Lutron used, in the past, had been rather challenging to try to partner with and develop products. And believe me, I have actually been involved with some of that, so I know where I say there. And so, to be honest, maybe this is signaling kind of a new era of cooperation. Now, what's scary along that same line is the exclusivity part of that. But we don't know. This is new, so we don't know what the terms are, what the real territory part of that or other additional parts of it is involved. I think you're just though of you have kind of a world-class level of product, and you have maybe a lesser there's the first class cabin, and then there's the executive cabin, and then there's the coach cabin, and then probably in the back is the snap cabin. And so that's a little interesting.
Very good. Bruno, you've been involved in the connected devices, remote monitoring side of things for as long as I've known you. When you see this, that's really, what they're trying to achieve. They're trying to have this native overseer integration that will allow dealers to have another level of control of their Lutron system without, rolling a truck. Is that, to me, this should not be that far of a stretch that this is, almost expected now. Why would Lutron have to connect with a third party to achieve this?
For me, it's a natural marriage. It's a natural partnership. When I saw the news, I said, yeah, makes sense. Okay. Oversea is controlling a lot of high voltage stuff with the watt box. They are doing a very good business with this, and I'm not surprised that they want to team up with almost every possible people to add a feature in the oversea system. And I applaud. I said, okay, it's good sense. It's normal. It was expected. And I'm totally okay with this. I don't have to spend much time to say to myself that it's a good deal for everyone.
Very good. Joe, I'm going to end with you on this one. And the question I have for you, my friend, is when I read through this, and Gerald Darville was giving some quotes, and he's the project manager or director of project management at Lutron. He said that the opportunity for dealers to expand their business with lighting control has never been greater, and getting started from both the consumer and the installer side has never been easier. My company's been a Lutron dealer for 10-something years. We live in that Radio Raw 2 world. It's never been that hard to sell, and B, it's not hard to install. So, and actually C, it's not that hard to properly set up remote management so that we can get in and monitor our clients and deal with things in that manner. I understand this is a big deal. I understand it's a big marriage for the two companies, and I understand it's a huge deal to get Lutron to bake something third party into their devices. Like that is honestly, that should have been the headline. But stop laughing, Mike. But what am I missing here, Joe?
Nothing. No, as we've been kind of going through this, and I've thought about it more and more, I've thought about it from a business standpoint, a couple other things now, and this is a lot. Sorry for, whoever wrote the article, and Weinstein and Adam and everyone else, that I'm going to piss some people off this statement. This is really smaller news than it seems on the surface, and here's why. Number one, you can't make big news out of something that says exclusivity to one SKU. It's only one SKU. It's a Radio Raw 2 with oversea select. Select just means that they've selected oversea. That's it. It's not that big of news because, like you said, we monitor with other things already. If I tied Lutron to a Control4 system that had backpack, I've already got remote monitoring. If I tied it into Luxel, anything else that already has Domos in it, I've already got it. It's already there. So that's the one thing that's smaller news to me. The bigger news in this are the mechanics of the business model. Because the number one thing is everyone knows, it's common knowledge that today Lutron's biggest revenue in residential is no longer lighting control, it's shades. This is common knowledge. So what do? They take the largest distribution model in our industry that reaches the largest amount of lower price point system entries, and they get their product into there. Because they only have one Snap AV branded and badged device, but now they can sell all the Radio Raw 2 switches, dimmers, Lutron Caseta. Now they can get all of these into those entry points of dealers that cannot even sign up to be Lutron dealers today because they do not meet the criteria. This isn't Homeworks. This is Radio Raw 2, exclusivity to one single thing. What it does do is it does give Lutron a chance to have a co-branded internal remote monitoring. Fair enough. That part's good. There's been plenty of companies they could have chosen from, but why not choose the one that has a distribution model that'll sell you some video extenders for $20? Business side makes a lot of sense to me. Just the news that they're saying is news is not really news.
Not really news. I love it. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today. Bruno, if people want to connect with you, where can they do that?
They can do it in Twitter. Just check Bruno Napoli _FR and you'll find me.
Very good. Mike, thanks for joining us. I appreciated having you here. If people want to connect with you, learn more about SI, where can they do that?
So it's mike@screeninnovations.com. Very simple.
Very good. And definitely check out SI. They have some fantastic products that I love to sell and make money with. Little plug. Sorry.
Nice shameless plug there, buddy.
I know. Well, I love the product. What do you want me to do?
Hey, I do too.
Exactly. Joe, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. If people want to connect with you, find out more about what you're doing, where can they find you?
Any social media platform at The Thoughtful Home or at Thoughtful Home. You can always email me personally. I never mind it, joe@thethoughtfulhome.com. And you will always find me at Cedia.
Very good. For myself, you can find me on Twitter at Matt D. Scott and every other social platform. But more importantly, please stop by AVNation.tv. You'll find this show as well as a wide variety of our other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our underwriters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you support them as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.